Well, the boat was called Minerva, and she was put in a shed in 1972 and built in 1932. And the significance of it is that my grandfather was here living in Cadgwith and went away in the merchant service prior to that. And when he come back in and around 1930, he went down Port Leven and ordered a boat. And we got all the paperwork with regard to it. It's built down in Orchard Shipyard in Port Leven, and he paid 56 quid for it, which is quite remarkable now, isn't it, when you think about it. But we found the grandson of the chap who built it in Port Leven, and he's got all the original draft drawings, and we've got all the original invoices and the extras that he wanted and so on. And the boat was built to take an engine at a later date, but was built without engine. So she was built to sail and row initially, and then when he could afford it, he put an engine in. And the engine that's in it now was put in 1967, and once again they kept all the invoices and handbooks and so on of the engine that's there. So what we're hoping is that today they will pull a boat out in a minute, and it'll go off down to the Maritime Museum down in Falmouth, put in their workshop, and the Falmouth Technical College restoration course is going to put it back, make it seaworthy again. And hopefully then it will be displayed as part of the Maritime Museum with all its equipment, which was put away in the shed in 72. It's a 23-foot Cadgwith Crabber that was there, and there are very, very few of them left, and just none in that condition and with all its equipment. You know, we got all my grandfather's tools and work benches, and there's bark trolls up there and troll doors and trammels and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'll endlessly lose you in fishing terminology here in a minute. But, you know, it's all there, and all there to be preserved, really, as a sort of statement of 1930 to 1972, if you like, and a change in fishing gear. As I said earlier, you find old cars in barns and people rave and enthuse about it, but this is even rarer than any old car that they built hundreds of. You know, this is one of a kind, and that's it. And, you know, when it comes out, there'll be a lot of people that are interested and, you know, have had some sort of connection with a boat like that. Not least of all, the grandson of the boat builder for a start. And the plant sort of old man's beard's taken over, so it took 2 days to cut the shed out, like, you know, shift crab pots away from it and so on. So it was like finding a boat in a tropical rainforest with all these old man's beard growing down the inside of the shed. So, but we cut it all out over the last few days. All we got to do now is unveil it, really, lift off the doors and hitch the tractor on and pull it out and load it on a trailer, and away she goes.
When I was a boy, me and Plugger used to sit on the bow thwart to go to the vises to shut the trammels. And it was going to the vises was like going to the other part of the world, because it was down off Mullion, it was a long way away. And now I see her, she's just so small compared with these modern plastic boats. Which is unbelievable, we actually done that, really. There's lots of wooden boats here then. I think it was built Oliver's mostly in Port Leven. I gotta say, Minerva won the prettiest one. I think the Grayling was probably the prettiest one. But nevertheless, she did sort of survive the test of time, and she's. I look at her occasionally. Without a shadow of doubt, she would go to sea again. No problem with that. Years ago, they used to have petrol paraffin Kelvin engines, and then a lot of them put air-cooled listers in them, which were very, very noisy, but it just worked well, and there was never no problem with all Kelvin. As soon as the mag got damp, they'd stop and I'd dry the mag off. In a gale, if we started crabbing again, it was quite fun when he was young. But yeah, I've been down to visits with Henry and Buller, Georgie Stevens. And when me and Plugger was very, very young, we used to go for a trip down to the other side of the world. Lots of big ships down in those days, lots of big tramp steamers, New Zealand shipping company boats, Japanese big freighters, all big old tramp steamers. We don't see any of them now. But there in the war, she and several of the crabbers were actually shanghaied by the government to go to Dunkirk. And I think they got as far as getting them to Falmouth, and then they decided they was too small, so they had them back again. But yeah, she's a pretty little boat, all cut frames. Or some of them older ones were steam rib, but she's And of course, they were built for the beach. They just launched so easily, and they would sort of float on a grassy field, as they say. But she was built for the beach, you know. She was proper crabber. Well, I'm on my own. I work 180 pots on my own, steel and plastic. In those days, they would have worked probably 5 strings of 25, 2 men, and they'd all be withy pots. Difference was they were fishing in seasons, whereas now it's just anything and everything goes. They had seasons: cock crabs, then lobsters, crawfish. End of the year, October month, end crabs. They wouldn't eat it. They wouldn't eat end crab here until end of September, October, because there's nothing in them. And I'm pleased she's going down there and be restored, and of course you've got one of the best places to restore her. She's got a bit of local knowledge they can pick from as well. And hopefully when she's done, I would like to make a few withy pots and put a few trammels in her as they would have been put in those days. And yeah, nice to see her actually come back here one day and just put her on the beach for a few hours and just have a you know, sort of go in her again. Yeah, very, very good.
We had to start clearing the yard, and the vegetation was out to about here. So, with old man's beard and ivy and stuff, so we had to cut the shed out the undergrowth. You can see in here, it's like seaweed hanging down. It almost looks like an underwater shot, really. But now all we got to do really is take the door down in the back of the shed and pull her out with a tractor. 1967 that was put in. I know because we found an invoice for that. I think the original engine that was in there, that was put in when he could afford it, was a Calvin Ricardo petrol paraffin engine. But they used to have trouble with that season at sea, and they had to take the injectors out and beat the pistons down with a screwdriver and a hammer. So it was quite unbelievable really now. But there we are, that's what they did. And I think they had trouble with the petrol one day and set the bottom of the boat on fire while they was at sea. Caught the tar on fire, or the pitch, or whatever it's called. But there we are. Anyway, we'll get it out in a minute. Up above your head. You know, there's a hell of a lot of old stuff there. Old buoys, old corks, old trolls. That's a stem head roller for hauling nets. Just here, this here, I couldn't figure out what it was for ages. And I actually asked Nigel, I think it was Nigel anyway. It's obviously a wooden ring with a leather piece on the top and a piece of lead on the top of that. And that is a valve from a bilge pump. And the shed is full of stuff like that. But there's boxes in here that I've never been in, so I don't know what's in them. You know, there could be anything. When I actually can remember it being floating in the water was just prior to it coming up and being put away in the shed. I don't know. Too long ago for me to remember. There we are. Yeah, this mast, it's a forward mast for when she was sailing, but I'm not entirely certain. I need to have somebody that knows, you know. Her outrigger that went out through the transom was on the starboard side and not the port side. All the rest of the Cadgwith Crabbers, every other one of them that I know of anyway, had the outrigger for the mast on the port side.
The middle one you got your foot on, that's the one that's tightening it. Yeah, it'll come out as a hole.
And there she is. Take it quietly that way now.
Well, we'll have to turn her as we're pulling her in.
You lift at the 3-point linkage. Hey? You lift at the 3-point linkage, you'll get the... Right?
Lean her this way. Difference there, that'd be great.
No, they took keys. They got to ask them to move.
All right, okay.
Should we untie the rope up there and we'll roll up it?
Sarah Powell from the Falmouth Marine School. She's running a boat restoration course. This fellow here is students on that course, as I understand it, and this is her husband Luke of Working Sail in Gweek, who's a boat builder himself. So that's his obviously interest in the boat.
Well, I'm Dennis Oliver, and I'm the son of Willie Oliver, he was called, and his brother and my grandfather built this one.
Ordered December 1931, I like that.
£57.
50, I thought it was 56, so we've gone up a quid since
I think you've got the
we have got the
bill,
original
haven't
bill,
you?
yeah. It's amazing that all the paperwork is there. I think that's great. So you think it was your grandfather and his brother and your
No.
father?
No, it was grandfather and two brothers, my father.
Ah, I
and
see
my
what you mean.
uncle.
Yeah.
So
So this is much history of a boat for you as it is for me, more or less.
Yeah.
Well, I know that John Moore fitted the engine, but I don't know who supplied it. Might well have been Coles that supplied the engine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I found the handbook for it the other day.
Yeah.
You know, like nothing was never thrown out. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's good.
But if I could have a photocopy of that
Certainly,
sometime, I'd be
certainly,
over the
yeah.
moon.
Yeah, certainly.
He wants to keep that fairly flat, not come up the slope.
No, he's all right.
Sure.
He'll come up like that pretty.
Have a go there.
Yeah, either on.
Hey! Hey! Hop! Blimey. Can you hold her up a minute, people? Do you want to pull the bar over a bit with the stern?
Oh, there. Going. Right. Yeah, we're out.
I've given you a few years.
There she goes. Tail her away. Bloody punch her.
Give her out, man. Let her on. If you get stuck on the boat, man, you don't have to all the way around.
There she goes.
Comparing that Range Rover, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't think it'd make it up the hill.